Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about this online debate that has been sparked. It's been pretty much going on for years now. I've already made videos talking about more specific incidents of basically Twitch streamers saying the exact thing we're going to be talking about here. But basically this whole debate has been around whether or not streaming, content creation, YouTube, whatever online content creation you really want to bring up or insert, whether or not that's harder than like doing a 9-to-5 job. Let's say, you know, working at McDonald's or being a doctor or a brain surgeon or in the military or like a warehouse employee or a fucking factory worker. You know what I mean? Like there's all the different quote unquote normal jobs out there that make up like 99.9% of the workforce. And then there's the like few thousand people on the planet like me who, you know, we get to play video games for a living and just talk about shit that happens on the internet, or, you know, like in some of these Twitch streams, they just basically will literally read chat and that's all they do, or they'll like film themselves eating, or they'll go to the coffee shop with a camera on them. And so there's this debate, and it's primarily sparked by Twitch streamers and live streamers in general. I don't know if there's some sort of specific disconnect that really causes them to think this more frequently. I will have to assume that if Twitch streamers are saying this and believing this, you best believe that there's also TikTok stars out there, YouTubers and whatnot, who also think the same thing. So now I want to be fair during this entire thing, because let's be real, there's realistically no actually good way to bring up this argument if you're the people actually trying to say that streaming is harder than a 9-to-5, because let's say you're one of these Twitch streamers, you have thousands of people in your stream watching you, right? And you just bust out with the, oh yeah, me sitting here and playing Fortnite, this is harder than a 9-to-5. It's a lot more mentally taxing. There's a lot of things I go through that you guys don't go through at your jobs. There's pretty much no way ever where that's just gonna like sound good. You know what I mean? Almost every single member of your audience is gonna hear that shit and they're gonna tune it right out. It's gonna be immediately disregarded, because to the average person, the concept of even being a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber or whatever have it, that's just a foreign concept. That's not something that they will ever realistically achieve. And I know that that may sound a little harsh. I don't really mean it to, but I think that it really kind of pulls into the grander thing that I'm talking about here. I think a lot of people have this fundamental misconception of what this job really is, what it actually takes to be like a great content creator online. The difference is obviously that it comes with from a normal job, right? There's a lot of different things, trust me, and I'm not going to say that, you know, being a streamer with 40,000 people watching you live every given second of your stream, I'm not going to say that that's like light work, you know what I mean? Because realistically, yes, there are challenges, there are struggles, there's things that everyone's going to go through when they're creating content on the internet. That's just part of the journey, right? I've been doing YouTube on this channel for 12 and a half, almost 13 years now. And in that time, obviously, you learn a lot of perspective, you learn a lot of different things about the internet in general, about how all these algorithms work. And of course, you know, you got to deal with negative comments and stuff. There's all the like normal shit that everybody talks about, but you see these streamers and it's almost always people who are like clearly millionaires or like at least very financially well off. Don't get me wrong. Not everybody streaming is going to ever be a millionaire, but like there's people who espouse this belief, right? Who they're getting thousands of monthly subs on their Twitch channels, or they're making thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars per month. And once again, not to trivialize it or anything, but like we're playing fucking video games. You know what I mean? Like for instance, this video, it's just me talking about this subject overlaid with video game gameplay, right? Like, I'm sorry, we're not doing brain surgery here. We're not building fucking advanced rockets and stuff that go to space. We're creating videos for the internet. We're creating live streams for the internet. And sure, there are specific challenges, but this overall broad concept of, oh, it's so much harder than a 9-to-5, I just can't agree. And I think part of that is because I've actually worked like normal fast food jobs before, and I've done other like work outside of YouTube. I know that not everybody who streams or makes YouTube videos actually has a job beforehand. You got to think a lot of these people, especially new people coming up, a lot of the time they're like 18 years old, right? They are maybe fresh out of high school or a couple years out, and they just blow up overnight into being a streamer or a YouTuber or whatever. They're making all this money, right? So for a lot of these people, they've never actually even held jobs. And you know, some of them have. I'm not going to say that all of them are like this, but some people who think shit like this and feel this like almost entitled mindset of, oh, woe is me, my job is harder, they realistically, many of them don't have any actual experience, like, in the field. And even then, like, myself included, like, a lot of the jobs that some of us did have, they weren't necessarily like the fucking front lines of the world by any means. You know, I worked at fast food restaurants. These are basically jobs that anybody with eyes, ears, fucking hands, feet can do, right? So there's jobs out there like where people are slaughtering livestock, or they're in the fucking military in war zones, or they're chopping down trees out in the forest, or they're building roofs all day out in the sun, right? Like, there's a lot of jobs out there that I definitely would not personally envy, right? Like, not jobs that I'd want to have. And no disrespect to the people who do them. I'm sure there's lots of people out there who actually do enjoy that stuff and like that's their calling in life. But you know, for me, that wasn't the case. For a lot of people, it's not the case. And for a lot of these streamers, they don't have any like experience really talking outside of Twitch or doing anything out of that. And so when you hear them say like, oh, it's so much harder, I have to deal with the Twitch chat, I have to deal with hundreds of comments a minute sometimes. And it's like, realistically, you're not going to read all of those comments anyway. Like, that's the one thing about the chat argument that always gets me. You'll see like, they're like, well, look at this chat I have to manage. There's just so much going on, right? There's so many people here watching me. The pressure, the pressure it puts on me mentally. Like, I don't know, at least for me, I compartmentalized this in a pretty peculiar way very early on into my career. For instance, at this point, on average, every time I make a video, right? Every time my voice is heard on this channel, there's essentially an NFL stadium worth of people that are gonna watch that video. You know what I mean? If this was like a real talk show, I'd be, you know, talking to like a fucking sold out Super Bowl crowd. But it's just the internet. And obviously I'm not talking to any of you directly. I'm talking in a microphone in my studio. So they always, oh, but the chat, it puts pressure. I understand that, right? Like, you gotta perform because it's live and everything, but this isn't something that only you have to go through. I mean, for instance, think of the waitress at your local diner. If she doesn't perform, if she's not on 24/7 at work, you know, smiling, giving guests friendly service, getting the plates out, you know, at the right time and making sure orders are correct, she may not get tipped, and therefore, you know, she may not be able to make fucking rent. Like, these Twitch streamers are not the only people who have to act under pressure, you know? Imagine being a fucking frontline grunt in the military and there's bullets whizzing past your head, right? Like, I would assume there's some pressure there too. Now, of course, you know, you're gonna have some people, oh, but Optimus, you're making extreme examples. Most people don't have to deal with that. You know, it just isn't a fair comparison. And I guess, whatever, right? Like, I mean, honestly, there's millions of people in militaries around the planet, and then there's like, what, a couple thousand professional streamers and YouTubers and whatnot, right? The comparison is completely fair in my opinion, but that's the thing, is like, but the pressure, the chat, it's like, once again, you're not reading the chat all the time, right? Most of the time you're doing whatever it is that you're focusing the stream on. You have moderators that are like going through the chat and making sure that people, you know, commenting shit like show your butt or whatever are getting banned and like kicked out of the chat, right? So they act like they have to like manage the weight of 40,000 people on their back all at the same time. And I mean, if you just sit there and you really think about the technicalities, I guess sure, you could work your way into a whirlwind of thinking about it. But realistically, to me, it just comes off as cope when I hear this, right? It's just, oh, but I need to find a reason. I need to find a reason to tell these people how hard my job is. And that's what comes off the least sincere about these comments, right? Like I said, it's really hard to even say something like that to your audience with a straight face and not basically get laughed out of your own stream to begin with. But even if you like were to somehow, a lot of the time they're basing these arguments on these like really weak points. And a lot of the time it's just shit that everyone goes through anyway, right? Like, you know, making content here on YouTube, I also have to deal with the comments, but I also don't, you know what I mean? Because YouTube's moderation does most of it anyway. I mean, it says plenty, right? Like, if you, let's say, went to like the average first grade classroom in the United States, right? You just walked in, there's like, what, 25, 30 kids in first grade there, and you just did like a class poll, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm gonna assume that like 20, maybe 25 of those kids are gonna say shit along the lines of, I want to be a professional athlete, or I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a TikTok star, I want to be a professional gamer, I want to, you know, something like that. I want to be in movies. It's always shit like this. It's always like the creative, like cool, high paying, high fame, high status, whatever. It's always the shit like that. It's very rare when you hear kids say, Yeah, when I grow up, I want to spend 12-hour shifts picking up trash cans all day and riding on the back of the trash truck. And unfortunately in America, the kids who do say things like that, who look up to their parents who do work these jobs, they usually get laughed at by their fucking classmates. Because those kids want to be like Kim Kardashian, or they want to be like Ninja, or they want to be like Kai Cenat. You know what I mean? They don't give a fuck about building prefab homes to make sure there's enough neighborhoods in their town, right? They don't care about replacing the water mains and shit so the infrastructure of the city stays put. They want to fucking film TikToks in their bedroom all day, man. They want to play video games. Now, if it was so much harder on Twitch, right? It was so much more mentally abusive, you know, it was so much more just horrible compared to the grind of a 9-to-5, right? Why is it that all these kids want to do what we're doing? You know what I mean? Why is it that all these kids, oh, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to play video games for a living? Why is it that they want to do these things if it's that they're just so fucking difficult, they're so hard for the average person to comprehend? Now, the argument might be, Optimus, people don't realize what they're signing up for when they start content creation. It changes. There's a lot that changes. There's a lot of dynamics that flip once you start gaining the success. And sure, that's absolutely true, but it's not like you don't have any warning signs before you go into it. There's been thousands of people in these fields who've come and gone already, who've already set the examples of what can be accomplished in these careers. And I mean, if you ignored all of that shit on your come up and you didn't prepare for that mentally, like, yeah, things might change if I have 100,000 followers, then realistically, this probably wasn't the job for you in the first place, because how could you not look ahead that far if, like, that's what you were planning on doing? Like, you didn't think that things might be different between having 2 people in your chat as compared to 4,000? Like, I don't know. When you hear this, it makes no sense, because realistically in no way does it compute. Like, sure, I will admit there's a lot of moments during content creation where, you know, you're putting deadlines on yourself. There's, you know, the pressure to exceed your past results. But these are not things that are unique to making these career paths, man. And that's what I wish that more people who say this shit would actually, like, really comprehend. And I think it's that disconnect between them and the real world in a lot of instances that really kind of hammers this all home, because, you know, let's say for a lot of these people, they've probably been streaming professionally and making content professionally for years at this point. When you're 3 months into it, you know, you still have the perspective of what it was like before that. But if you've been doing it for 7 years and you've just been focusing on it every fucking day, basically, I think your brain warps. And I mean, like I said, I'm fucking 12 and a half years deep into this shit, man. It is completely different mentally than when you start out at that rate. You know what I mean? And when you've just been doing it for so long and you start to disconnect and all that shit just becomes distant memories of you going to school or working before this, right? When it all just gets so distant, I think a lot of these people just forget in a way, you know, like, wow, having to deal with customers screaming in your fucking face as compared to some mean comments on the internet, it's a little bit of a different ballgame, you know? And I guess to wrap this up, right, I'll just go ahead and make a quick comparison between my job in the past, before I really blew up on this YouTube thing, and now, right? So when I worked at the pizza place that I used to work at, there were homeless people that lived in the alleyway behind the restaurant, right? And this was a known thing at the store, like everyone knew what was going on, but when we made trash runs, we had to do it in duos because they may attack you with fucking knives and with weapons and try to steal the food from you from the trash. When you're basically looking over your shoulder, taking trash out 3 runs a day, every day you go to work in the summer, hoping that a homeless man doesn't stab you in your fucking back in your high school ages because he wants some, you know, day-old pizza. It's a little bit different than some mean comments coming your way in a Twitch chat, or, you know, your stream software not working properly, or like your internet connection being too unstable to stream for a day. I don't know. It's such a first world problem in all reality. And I wish that instead of just sitting here arguing, oh, is my job harder than the people who are fucking, you know, making my food or building my house or putting my car together or keeping the airplanes in the sky afloat? I think instead of just like constantly comparing yourself to everybody else out there, you should be comparing how lucky you are and how fortunate you are to have this job in the first place. Because believe me, it's something I think about quite frequently. You know, this is a 1 in a billion opportunity where you basically get the chance to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about for a living. You know what I mean? And sure, you can sit here and you can focus and dial in, oh, this is the hard parts, these are the parts I don't like, it's so much worse than this and that, and I'm this compared to that, and to win and there. You can do that all you want. But at the end of the day, you should just be more focused on the fact that, man, I get another day of getting to do this shit, right? I get another day of getting to work this dream career, of getting to accomplish my own personal goals in life. I think it's a really stupid argument. I get really tired of seeing it, honestly. I wish that it would just go away. But unfortunately, there's always going to be these kinds of comments, right? Because I think in a way, it's almost human nature for us to compare ourselves constantly to everybody and everything else around us. And even though I think that it's a really unhealthy mindset, it really doesn't help, you know, bode well with your audience or anything, I think that it's going to be one we continue to see, man. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about whether or not my job is harder than yours, and signing out.